Welcome to Advocacy Exchange Injury and Tagline.
Hello, you are listening to Advocacy Exchange, Navigating Texas Injury Law with Larry Littleton. Larry is the founder of Littleton Law Firm and a seasoned trial attorney who's been representing injured Texans since 1976. My name is Kevin Rosenquist, and today we're talking about catastrophic injuries, what makes these cases different, how the legal strategy has to rise to meet the long-term needs of the client. Larry, welcome back. Good to see you.
It's good to be here.
So what is a catastrophic injury from a legal standpoint, and how is it different from your typical injury case?
Well, a catastrophic injury usually means that the individual injured person, the client, has a very permanent injury. It could be amputation, it could be brain damage, it could be paralysis, it could be difficulty in being able to return to the kind of work they were doing before. It could be both cognitive, non-cognitive type of situations with it. Catastrophic simply means that in general, they're not going to return to where they were before. They're not going to be the same person. They're not going to have the same kind of life they had before. Mm-hmm. Therefore, that change is catastrophic.
What kind of accidents or scenarios do you see most commonly resulting with these types of injuries?
Well, as far as the volume, it's usually associated with an 18-wheeler. It's usually a trucking accident. It's usually an individual who stopped at an intersection and the truck doesn't stop. It is a situation where there's multiple cars and it is generated because of the negligence of a truck driver, something like that sort. Because what's happening here is if you've got this individual in a small vehicle with a crashworthiness of up to about 45 miles an hour and at a dead stop, and you've got a massive amount of weight, a massive amount of volume, of unbelievable amount of power that comes to bear on that small vehicle. When that happens, somebody gets hurt catastrophically. So trucking accidents are the number one. The number two in Texas is primarily associated with refineries. If there's an explosion, if there's a discharge of certain kinds of chemicals, particularly those things associated with chlorine, that kind of thing, that the chlorine gas becomes inhaled and it turns to hydrochloric acid, for example. So the exposure results in long-term damage. Mm-hmm. Those are the two general areas that produce the catastrophic. And you can have catastrophic injuries in an auto accident also. But generally, as far as the numbers are concerned, it's usually involving an 18-wheeler.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense for sure. And I would say it stands to reason that these cases are going to take longer to resolve. Is that fair? And what generally dictates that?
Well, again, we're still dealing with the injury. How long is this going to get to a point to where we have maximum medical improvement? Enough information to do an impairment rating, enough information to be able to get it to an expert to determine what kind of job, if any, the person can complete. Experts to be able to calculate the amount of medical in the future, the amount of income in the future, and then a type of what we call the economist to be able to come up. We know what the numbers are, so what do we have to be able to get this client in a position to where they're getting the proper treatment and that they're getting everything in the best for them. So you end up with a lot of experts being involved in these kinds of cases to determine the true damages that are involved in catastrophic injuries. The second big difference in these kinds of cases is that the amount of investigation in these cases have to occur very quickly. Most of the major 18-wheeler transport companies, they have on hire lawyers and investigators and experts that will literally go out to the site of the accident within a day or two of these things, trying to piece together what happened and to collect the evidence. So when a case comes in, it's usually crucial, the clock is running, to be able to get that evidence themselves. So if you wait too long to do so, some of that evidence may be lost, or it may be what we call tainted. It's been moved, or it's been downloaded something of sort that's affecting the evidence. So catastrophic injury cases are something that should be taken seriously very quickly because of the requirements of what to be able to prove and to prove all the circumstances. You're dealing with a simple auto case. You're not going to have that same kind of resources and that kind of personnel dedicated to an auto case as you would in a case involving an 18-wheeler. Okay, so it's a different ball game. It's a lot more involved. And of course, it's dictated by the extent of the injury and how much long and how much time it's going to get to be able to know the injury, the outcome, what the future lies, and a way of compensating for not only the past, currently, and in the future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I would imagine. I mean, it's interesting what you said about needing stuff even faster than a what I guess a normal quote unquote case would be because of the injuries, these catastrophic injuries. But you're also, it's more overwhelming for the victims, for their families. They might be grieving. They might be in crisis. This is a really big deal. How do you balance that? How do you stay in touch? How do you make sure you get the things that you need while obviously being empathetic to what they're going through?
Well, it's communications with not only the client, but the family.
Mm-hmm.
And usually when a case starts, you're going to know who the family members are that are involved in the case. Those are the ones that are making decisions. Those are the ones that care for the client. The client depends on them, will refer to them. And so that becomes a kind of an inner circle of people that you deal with. And you keep those people completely communications with all the information and data that's going on. They are part of it. And you normally don't have that in a simple auto case or a collision case, but you have a lot of it when you're dealing in catastrophic injuries, because generally speaking, feeling is that the whole thing, the whole family dynamics has changed. We've got someone who's going to be injured for a long time. We need to take care of them. And that's good. If you've got the family involved, you want that because that will encourage a quicker recovery. It will help explain and understand the devastation to the family because we do the interviews of the family, what the client did before, how active he was, what was he doing, was he a coach, was he playing, would he play tennis, did he have kids, how was his relationship with his kids. All of those factors of the family interrelationship, the factors that affect and describe this client's life before is crucial. And so involvement of the family, communicating with the family, and being able to advise them on what things they may do. There are times when the catastrophic injuries are so devastating that some of the family members may need medical attention, psychiatric treatment, some sort of counseling, that kind of thing. And so the lawyer's got to be prepared to offer some suggestions. And that becomes a situation where, even though it is not compensable as part of the catastrophic injury, unless that person also was there at the accident or injury, that's a different ballpark. But the point is that you've got to help the family to cope with it along with the client so that they are both physically being repaired, mentally being prepared, and also understanding that the future is something that we're preparing for now. It's not something that's going to occur 1, 2, 3, bang. It's got to be thought of, thought through, completed, and prepared now.
Yeah, sort of piggybacking off of what you said about getting the family members involved to talk about their life. How do you work with medical experts or life care planners to support the damages being claimed in addition to talking to family members?
Well, the family members give us the parameters of those kinds of things that we need to be looking for. The medical experts, each one of them have a list criteria of things that they would like to examine and talk to the family members and or the client and or medical records or whatever else they may need. The lawyer's job is to make sure they get all that information to each expert for them to give their expert opinion. For example, the life planner is going to be looking at the income production. So he needs to have an idea of the impact of the injuries. Is it something that is incapacitating completely, or is it partial, or is it something that in the future it will get less? That affects his plans in reference to what is for the future. It's secondly, the basic information is the income, his income taxes, the kinds of expenditures he had in the family, if he had any special needs, whether or not his family members have special needs. We've had catastrophic injuries involved in which the individual had a son that was born with major problems associated with birth defects. Now that contribution from that client as a father is going to be limited. That puts an impact on. That's something what the life planner needs to understand, not just on ordinarily the math, but also the kinds of things that they're going to be involved. Is it going to be medical doctors for the physical injury? Is it going to be doctors for counseling? Is it going to be doctors that are required to be able to talk with the patient and the family on an ongoing basis? All of these experts have certain criteria, certain information that is interrelated in determining the full value of the case, and to be able to evaluate it properly to a point to where we get as close as we can to compensation.
With these cases involving more significant injuries or life-changing effects like we talked about, do the insurance companies treat these cases differently, and do juries tend to look at these cases differently?
Yes, the insurance company will put out all their resources. They pull the plugs on everything, from investigations of the client, background checks, things associated with the 18-wheeler. Most 18-wheelers, for example, now have a dash cam that not only records the information outside the vehicle, but also inside the vehicle. Many of them have recording devices that are based on GPS to determine if they violated the rules concerning taking enough rest time, or the speed, or how many times they violated the speed. So there's a whole collection of data that it will help explain what happened just prior to the accident. That's very
Okay.
important.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I would imagine I think you mentioned earlier that these cases can take longer because of the extent of the injuries.
Yes.
I mean, this is a long journey for the clients, obviously, but it's a long journey for you too. I mean, how do you? Is it difficult for you to balance sometimes when you see some of the things you've seen, or after 4 decades, are you a little bit more numb to it, or how does that work for you?
Well, over a period of time, you develop a little bit of numbness,
Sure.
but there are there are times that it can take a toll, and it depends on your inner faith. It depends on hopefully a good outcome, and trying to recreate a future that prior to the accident was in a bright future and everything was going in the right direction. And now the future doesn't look bright at all. So
Hmm.
whatever I can do to turn on the lights, to turn on more light, to make it brighter for my client in the future, that's what I'm going to do. At the end, when it's completed and everything is resolved and we've signed the documents, those clients don't disappear out of my life. They're still there. Their family will give me a call. Sometimes I get in touch with them. I had a case that I handled well over 30 years ago. And he called me up and asked me a legal question about a property damage on his pickup truck. And we talked about his family members, where they were, what was going on, the whole 9 yards. So yes, in catastrophic injuries, you get to be more than just handling the legal matters. You
Hmm.
handle it all.
Yeah, that's really cool. So, for anybody out there, like just to educate a little bit, is what should be the first step people take? Obviously, get to a hospital if you need to. In a lot of situations, I'd imagine the injured person may not be the one calling you because of the fact that they might be in a bad situation. What is that first step? How quickly should someone get in touch with you, and what does that initial consultation look like?
Well, every lawyer always says the same thing: call me as quick as you can.
Sure.
Okay, and there's good reason for that. It doesn't take a mental giant to figure out the best prepared are the ones that got there first. Okay,
Mhm.
but generally speaking, the things that I would tell people when they're first involved in an accident is just check around, make sure that they're safe, make sure that people who are injured or being taken care of, 911, whatever's necessary. When it gets to a point where the emergencies are taken care of and there's a little bit of time, you give an attorney a call to determine what needs to be done. The reason I say that is because when someone's involved in an accident and they've got family member that's severely hurt, they have a huge amount of burdens that's hitting them all at one time with things that they're not familiar with. They don't know how to make decisions with. Talking to doctors, talking to the ambulance employees, talking to the police officers, or even some situations, an insurance adjuster. Those kinds of things are being put right there in front of the person for the first time in their life.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so what you have to have is you need to be able to control your circumstances. You have to be able to be knowledgeable, to be able to make sure that you're making the right decisions for you and your family. And the best way to do that is to hire an attorney that will do what he can to make sure and manage all of those problems that hit you in the face on that first day. So that the only thing you have to really worry about is to try to get medical attention for your injuries and recover.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that all the problems disappear when you hire a lawyer. What I'm saying is you're not alone. Now you've got someone on your side. We got your back, so to speak. It's what we say in Texas anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yes, these things can be very, very heavy, very life-changing. So thank you for that information. Thank you for all that you do. And thank you for joining us today on Advocacy Exchange, Navigating Texas Injury Law. If you or someone you love is facing the aftermath of one of these catastrophic injuries, the right legal team can make all the difference. Visit littletonlawfirm.com to connect with Larry. And don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, share the episode with someone who could use it. We very much appreciate it. Larry, always great to see you. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.